Adventure Time Season 8.
Hey.
We thought things were wrapping up before, and then Season 7 ended the way it did with pre-boot and reboot. And then we had to address that, and that is what we have done in Adventure Time Season 8 so far.
Yes.
It premiered with the two-parter, Two Swords and Do No Harm, where we see more stuff with the anthropomorphized and autonomous grass sword, tentatively called Grass Fin, and then later Fern.
Which is great. Very good.
And like after I saw Do No Harm, I checked Tumblr. I was like, is everybody in love with Fern? Yes,
yeah.
They are. He's got flowers in his hair. Of course they are.
Yeah, he's a cutie. He's trying real hard.
Yeah. So Fern is, which we'll just call him that for now.
I mean, that's his name.
Yes, he has. It's kind of hard to tell what his mental state is, but he's born thinking that he's Finn.
Right.
And seemingly having the memories of Finn. And having the memories of Finn, or at least some of them, where like he self-identifies as Finn. It's not until people tell him, like, you're not Finn, this is Finn. He's thrown into this whole crisis of identity. Which is, I think, very Adventure Time to humanize and make kind of quietly tragic these characters who are just trying to get by.
Right. Because, we see him and Finn fight because they both think the other one is trying to hurt Susan, was very messed up by the end of reboot and pre-boot. And then Fern is very confused. But they invite Fern to the treehouse, right?
Yeah, because it's not in Finn's nature to do anything other than, like, try to help him.
Yeah, because, like, there's a funny scene in the hospital where PB was like, okay, explain that to me again. And Finn's like, I just did. She's like, yeah, but do it again because it doesn't make sense. Where Finn finally got his permanent robo-arm. Little three-fingered robo-arm. Which he doesn't have a sword again, but PB should definitely outfit his arm to, like, transform into a sword. I don't know why she hasn't done that already. That would just, like, solve two problems at once. Like, if his arm was the sword. The robot arm sword. Yeah. Anyway. So Finn's like, I don't know what to do with this Fern guy. Also, I'm worried about Susan.
Also, Rattleballs is still alive.
Oh. All right.
They put him back together, and it seems that Finn is using his sword now, though. That might be in the second episode that we see him. But he's got, like, kind of a generic rapier, but it looks like Rattleballs is his. And he was, like, fucking Humpty Dumpty'd in the hospital. Seems to be okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But maybe he's retired.
Yeah, I would if I was him. At this point.
Yeah. In these two episodes, which I saw back-to-back, so it's hard for me to distinguish it, like,
yeah.
Finn, in Do No Harm, Finn gets it in his head that he wants to be a doctor because it's a way to help people. Mm-hmm. Especially after Dr. Princess is like, I've been faking it for 20 years.
Yeah.
My first name is Doctor, and here we are. Yep. And he does a pretty good job for like 8 minutes, and then you're like, I need to be trained for 10 years to be a doctor.
Yeah, everything breaks bad real fast. So, while Finn is being a doctor, Jake is trying to figure out how he feels about Fern, because, like, it's very confusing. Like, we learn that what Fern is the Finn consciousness from the Finn sword, which is also Finn, which I forgot about. I don't know how I could forget that the Finn sword is also Finn. But the grass curse, there's a curse living inside, a sentient curse living inside the grass sword that, like, has a little meek little voice that decides that it wants to take over the consciousness of the Fern being that they both turned into. So he's, like, kind of taking over. And we don't know if he's, like, good guy or bad guy or a what guy. We think he's a little evil. Like, a little evil. I think.
Yeah, but there's also, I think, it's at least clear to me, a desire in him to not be evil. To find out what his he wants to know what his own deal is, but I don't think it's in his nature to.
Well, they did find out his deal. Like,
yeah.
Jake and Fern go find the grass wizard. Remember that guy? I didn't.
Yeah. No, I didn't either.
And they're like, why did you make me? And he's like, oh, I don't know, it'd be fun. And that wasn't a good answer for Fern. I don't know. But eventually Finn's stupid doctor idea does wake up Susan, so Susan's okay. Finn gives up being a doctor. Fern is just gonna live on the roof. Everyone's pretty cool. It's just a little strange. Like, Finn is very quick to accepting Fern as, like, a dude.
Yeah, which is very within Finn's nature, is that he always wants to see the best. I think especially it's in Finn's nature now, certainly, like, after he's learned the truth about Ice King and everything, he's like, I'm gonna give everybody at least a chance. And this guy is me.
Literally me.
Well, for instance, I'm not you. It's clear that I'm someone else. That's why he gave himself the name Fern. And then he steals Starchy's motorbike.
Yeah. Right. I mean, he is him, but he's not him.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing. And that just delightful Adventure Time way where words fail us because they can't adequately describe what nonsense is happening. So we leave them for a bit, move on to other stuff.
Yeah, this stuff that's coming up is largely more standalone. We have Wheels, which is a Jake and Jake's family heavy one, where he meets his granddaughter Bronwyn, the daughter of Kim Kil-Wan, and his bear wife. So Bronwyn is, let me see the species breakdown that the Adventure Time Wiki gives us. Half bear, quarter rainicorn, eighth dog, eighth shapeshifter.
Okay. A shapeshifter is a species?
Remember that, like, black weird thing that is technically Jake's mom?
No. I don't.
It's from Margaret and Joshua Mysteries, where there's that weird shapeshifter guy that, like, planted an egg in Joshua or whatever. So biologically speaking, Jake's parents are Joshua and this weird monster, and not Margaret.
I completely forgot about that one.
I did a little bit too, and then of all people, Dad reminded me.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
Go Dad for being on top of things, because I'm not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we open the episode with a hilarious picnic-a-thon, which is super cute, how Jake went to the picnic-a-thon with his son, even though his son is, like, the most, like, boring, straight-laced guy. But he had an ulterior motive, and his ulterior motive was he's having trouble with his daughter, and he wanted Jake's advice. Which even he realized was probably not the best idea, because he doesn't admire his father as a father figure.
Yeah.
But whatever. They're trying to bridge that gap. So Jake does a little mini investigating, figures out that Bronwyn's probably doing something super cool at night instead of homework, and then follows her to a, like, little skate park where she spends the twilight hours shredding her skateboard
with her whack friends. And actually, according to Steve Wolfhard, who boarded this episode, Bronwyn's parents tried to keep Jake a secret from her due to his immature behavior. Like, Kim Kil-Wan is thoroughly embarrassed by his dad.
Right.
Or Bronwyn is just a teen who's like, I just want to skate, man. I don't care about homework. I only care about guitar. And what Kim Kil-Wan wants Jake to do is to talk some sense in her to help get her priorities realigned. Whereas Jake sees is like, I gotta get her to think I'm cool. Otherwise, what am I gonna do? So the whole episode is then Jake trying to impress a bunch of teenagers.
Like actual teenagers.
Yeah, and he's not good at it, because he's too desperate is really the main thing.
Yeah, he's trying really hard to be cool for no reason whatsoever, to the point where he even is making Bronwyn look uncool to her friends. And, like, he's competing to see how cool, like, only one of them can be cool. Like, it's a very Jake kind of plot, where, like, the whole point of it completely gets away from him. And in a way, it is kind of a grandpa thing to just be so oblivious to, like, fucking everything. But it's also a very Jake thing. So eventually, they do the ultimate skate off, where they go to some abandoned amusement park, and have to race in, like, would be kind of a cool Sonic level if Sonic was good.
It's like that final level of Tony Hawk Underground, where you go back to the first level and you have to follow Eric around doing his tricks, and then you win. The levels in that one were very good. Anyway, yeah. Here's the thing: is that by this point, Bronwyn's friends are on Jake's side, and like Marceline and Bubblegum show up because they're like, it's date night. We weren't doing anything.
Yeah, which I love that they're just like, hey, let's just, like, I love that Marceline was just like, hey, PB, you want to go see this cool skate off? And she'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, we want to go watch Jake break his geriatric ass on a skateboard? Like, yeah, I do. They shut down Vine, so where else am I going to see kids getting fucking killed on skateboards?
We're going to eat shit on skateboards. Bronwyn is super good at skateboarding and does an ultimate trick, and then Jake tries to copy it and fails, and then I guess they make up or something. More like
Kim
Bronwyn actually talks to her dad and is like, hey dad,
Whereas Jake is all head injuried, and my favorite line, like, got a legitimate scream out of me, is that when that swan boat falls into the pit, he's like, oh no, that's where the pups came from. And I'm like, holy goddamn.
Stop and think about that. So it came full circle, I guess.
Yeah.
And Kim Kilwan and Bronwyn came to an understanding. And KKW was really cool. He was like, I get that this is really important to you, and I'm not going to take it away from you or anything. And just, you don't have to be exactly like me, but you still have to go to, like, school and stuff. And
yeah. What did you think of Bronwyn's design?
I mean, at this point, like, Jake family is all kind of, like, blending together for me. I mean, she's a bear, dog, rainicorn.
Unicorn with lightning teleportation.
But she just looks like a person with a yellow lady with a little, like, bear mouth.
Yeah, bear snoot and Jake eyes. Yeah, like I think that they successfully avoided, but were kind of close to doing that, like, accidentally making her too sexy thing. That doesn't seem like this show, but I would see, like, a different show, especially a show made in, like, the 90s. I'm thinking the girl from Goofy Movie.
Right.
And how, like, I feel like they pretty deftly avoided that, but it could have been that.
I mean, she is humanized as much as all the other female characters in this show, like humanoid female characters, so.
Yeah, she's less animalistic, but it's not, I still think it's fine.
Which I think it's fine too, I just don't know how they got to that, but whatever.
Next episode, High Strangeness. Well named. Penn Ward actually storyboarded this one with Sam Alden.
Aw. That's nice. Because, I mean, his Tree Trunks, it's always been a favorite of his.
This is the weirdest the show has gotten in a long time.
Yep.
Probably since, like, that one with Betty where she became... You Forgot Your Floaties, I think, was the last one that was this weird.
And it wasn't just weird because of the plot, like, the actual direction and the music and sound. The sound design was really weird. The music was really weird. All the characters seemed kind of off. Like, when they went to that fireworks thing, I was like, this is very uncomfortable. I don't like it.
And in fact, I don't remember. I remember, like, the end. I remember that there was a banana card named Bushi.
Okay, so if I can recall, Tree Trunks is visited by her space husband. Apparently, a couple years back, she was abducted by some aliens and made sweet, sweet love with a space husband and had some alien tree trunk babies. And every once in a while, he'll like pop in and let her know how they're doing and whatever. And like, okay, that's nice. So in the minute she's dreaming with Mr. Pig, and she gets abducted and gets to visit her alien family and see how they're doing, and it's fine. But I guess she gets like a premonition or something that something bad's gonna happen. And then they go to the fireworks thing, her and Mr. Pig, who are, still they're doing really good. It's pretty adorable. They go to the fireworks thing, which is really just a front for Princess Bubblegum to launch her space program, which is her launching these weird little proby bacteria multiplying.
She's trying to terraform, or I guess candy form other worlds, because she's like, she's always got all these contingency plans because she's trying to maintain her people, even if it's not, I guess, her current citizens, their culture and everything. There's a contingency to like seed other worlds, which based on Lemon Hope maybe happens. And if it doesn't, then they're just
this is the first.
Well, actually, here's the language used in Lemon Hope is abandoned, not destroyed.
Right, and then there was that one Graybles, where
my favorite one.
Yeah, so during the fireworks thing, Tree Trunks gets abducted again, and her alien husband's like, everything's breaking real bad.
Because the UFO gets hit by the probe as it's going up while cloaked. So Tree Trunks becomes a fucking InfoWars dipshit, and it starts picketing in the streets.
She makes the most lovely picket sign with the cursive glitter fascist sign.
Yeah.
Perfect, on point, on trend sign.
Then Starchy recruits her into his like secret society, the Veritas Brigade.
Nothing really happens there.
Yeah, honestly. They like fucking they infiltrate the Candy Kingdom, and man, I watched this.
Yes.
Why don't I remember this?
I'm reading like, fuck you guys. You guys are a bunch of hacks, but I need you. We're gonna infiltrate PB's space program and shut that shit down. So they do, and PB catches her and it's like, what the hey, Tree Trunks? And then Tree Trunks gets abducted. PB's like, what the what? And then PB gets abducted. And so she sees what her candy forming is doing, and she's like, oh. So she shuts it down. And everything's really weird. And then they wake up in a ditch, I guess. And sort of reconcile as best as they can, considering how much Tree Trunks just fundamentally hates PB as a ruler. And PB's like, I just trying to, see what was out there, because this is gonna, one of these days, something's gonna get really bad really fast, and we're gonna need to know what to do. And she had a lovely Elaine-inspired outfit. So, with the jacket over the shoulder. And then the ending happens. Tree Trunk goes to bed with Mr. Pig, and then tells him about her alien husband. And Mr. Pig is really off-put by it, but she's like, no, I have 2 husbands. And she has them hold hands, so, polyamorous Tree Trunks for life.
And then the episode ends.
And then it's over. And it's like, oh, Tree Trunks. Never change.
Next, we have Horse and Ball, the return of James Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
In which he's doing his whole thing, but then his beach ball pops, and he is put into a horrible depression, because now he doesn't know what...
He's inconsolable.
Yes.
He's comatose, almost. He's so sad.
And while he's comatose, we do see his origin, where he was just a horse who found some garbage.
No, he wasn't just a horse. He was part of a horse society where all the horses worked dead-end, miserable jobs and had dead-end, miserable lives. And he escaped from the horse city of no dreams and happened upon a cave filled with garbage and a really sad bat.
And he was just looking for something to say. So he said,
less sad.
So he said, James Bookstore, but can't read, so it was James Baxter.
And that's how James Baxter was born.
Because, like, pronouncing games as James is a thing that I'm pretty familiar with. Like, Homestar did it like 4 times.
And I'm pretty familiar with it too, because ever since I was a child, I mixed up my J's and my G's.
So I'm like, he says, he reads games, he says James, like, that's pretty good. And you're thinking, like, what is Baxter? And, like, I never in a million years would I have guessed Bookstore. It's so good.
Very good. Meanwhile, Jake and BMO are trying to bring back joy into the world by finding a new beach ball in the Raggedy Princess's kingdom, which is just the dump. And she hides it from them because of reasons. Meanwhile, Finn is trying not to be, like, a super creepy fanboy around James and is failing miserably to not be weird. But James isn't really responding to anything. So we see that James, once he learned his ball trick and the joy that it could bring, he went around and started doing it, but then he forgot about his little bat friend. And that relationship, they never reached some kind of closure on that relationship, which was kind of sad. So,
because he sold out and he forgot where he came from, man.
I guess. Or he forgot who he started everything for. And then, they finally get the beach ball, whatever. They get like 1 million beach balls. But James is like, you know what? Now that I remember why I started doing this, the whole time I've been doing it for other people, when the reason why I left my shitty horse city was to find a good life for myself. So then he creates a new dance, but he's doing it just for him this time. And it's joyful and beautiful and has so many frames.
His horse butt.
His little horse butt. He's so cute. James Baxter. Of all things to come back, I did not expect James Baxter to be one of them.
On the Adventure Time wiki, there's a gallery of title card concepts, and one of them was going to be James Baxter in the Vitruvian Man pose. With his fucking, 2-circle body.
Yeah, he said, you fat horse.
There's also a really good one of him just lying down, staring up at the sky next to the pop ball, and it's very good.
Yeah. Or James.
Now, I would be very surprised if we saw James Baxter again after this.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
That would be insane in the 2 remaining seasons we have.
Right. Especially since this next episode reminds us of what these next 2 seasons is probably going to have to focus on, and that is Patience St. Pim and the Elementals. Remember them? Yeah.
I have to remind Dad. Now, here's the thing. Dad remembered the thing that I already forgot, but
Patience St. Pim.
No, he forgot about. I've had to explain Patience St. Pim 4 times to him. But the thing that you and I didn't remember, but he did, I already forgot what it was.
Oh, the shapeshifter that's Jake's actual mom.
Yeah, in my broken senile brain. Yes. So jelly beans have power. It has to be a deliberate callback to the season 2 episode. Crystals have power.
Mm-hmm.
Bubblegum is trying to get more in touch with her elemental power.
Right. Because she still doesn't know how she feels about the whole thing. She still thinks it's kind of bunk.
Yeah, especially because it's magic and she is a woman of science.
Mm-hmm.
Slime Princess, on the other hand, loves it and is just sliming all over the place.
She's just Slime Time live in everybody.
I haven't thought about Slime Time live in so...
Because, Finn and Jake love it. They're like, just give me the slime!
I'm gonna be Danny Tamborelli about this. Slime me. But her kingdom gets invaded by some kind of crystal...
It's an origami.
Oh, one of those, like, fucking bullying things that used to bully people? Or like the
fortune teller thing.
Fortune teller, ship. You're gonna marry Dylan. No, I don't want to marry Dylan. Like that whole fucking thing. She probably doesn't want to marry Dylan.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what happens first. Like, at first she just tries to use it, and then she asks for Pep Butt's help, because Pep Butt's better with this kind of shit.
With the occult.
Yeah. But so far, all she can kind of do is just kind of fart out jelly beans from her hands.
Just one.
Just like a tiny turd. Just like... But then the kingdom gets attacked. No. She has a dream.
She has a dream where she contacts a previous candy elemental, Chatsberry, who we saw in the episode Evergreen.
Yeah, he was
voiced by Alan Tudyk, just doing the King Candy voice, because why not?
I mean, he's the original Candyman of the Ooh. Of before Ooh.
Yeah, that's true.
So Chatsberry's like, you gotta open the door and look inside yourself and positate the negative. And she's like, I don't know about that. That's a Homestar joke if you don't know. But then they get attacked by the bully origami fortune teller thingy. And PB's like, okay, I got this. And she's like motivated to action. She's just shooting jelly beans everywhere. But she doesn't have much control over it. It's actually doing a lot more harm than good, because it's literally just her shooting like a fire hose of jelly beans. So it like bounces and like crushes buildings by accident. It's kind of a bad time. So she talks with Chatsberry again, and he's like, nah, man, nah. You're not getting it. Eventually they stop it. I don't remember how they do it.
What she does is she figures out like the chemistry element to it.
That's right.
Of like manipulating them at the atomic level to create different types of candy. So like the soda and whatever to make an explosion.
And the Mentos to make the explosion, that's right. Because she's like, she understands how these processes work. So she's like, okay, I just have to apply that to my body. And then she kind of figures it out. She still fucks up her kingdom a whole bunch, but at least she got rid of the crystal thing.
She can grow new buildings.
Yeah. I always get really sad when there's destruction in the Candy Kingdom, because they're just such innocent little babies, and those are their homes. Like, somebody could have got crushed. So, she's working on it. She's getting better. However, Patient St. Pim is the one who sent the probe. She's still hanging out in the Ice Kingdom. She's in the Ice Castle's basement. And she seems to be plotting the movements of all the other elementals, and she seems like she wants to kill them all.
Or she's testing them. It's very hard to see. It's very hard to tell exactly what she's doing.
Especially since she's kind of cuckoo.
Yeah.
In the first place. So, we'll see more of her later. Presumably that'll give us a reason to visit Flame Princess again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, Islands proper.
Islands.
The Invitation.
I love these title cards, by the way. They look like little Polaroids. They're really pretty.
Yeah. I like how for both of these miniseries that there's a consistent art direction among all the title cards.
Mm-hmm. So, the premise of the Invitation is that we're finally going to figure out what the hell's happening, or what the hell happened to the humans. Where did Finn come from? Why is he the way he is? And the same with Susan. And so we kick it off with the Invitation, where the Candy Kingdom is attacked by another mysterious vehicle. This time, like, looking for XJ77 Strong, which I guess is Susan. Yeah,
presumably related to XJ9.
Maybe? I don't know.
A later model. Anyway, what I like is the ship keeps just picking people up and smooshing them into the dirt.
Yeah, just like, no. Hostile. Alleviated. Like, I also like how Mr. Cupcake's chocolate strawberry girlfriend was like really like impatient with him. It was just like, what are you doing? Mr. Cupcake needs to settle down. So it starts attacking all what it perceives to be hostiles or mutants. Susan's awake. Finn and her talk about what happened, and, Susan's like, it's okay, Finn, I wasn't myself, I don't know what was going on. Princess Bubblegum investigated Susan's head implant, and she was able to confirm that it was human in origin. However, once the thing starts attacking the Candy Kingdom, Jake and Finn go to, do their job and protect the kingdom. Finn starts being suspicious of it, and then the machine recognizes who he is, and he's like, wait, what? And then Jake just destroys it. And Finn was like, hey man, I think that was important. But with like a smile on his face, like, hey, yeah. I think that was important, Jake. So they look into it with BMO, and they find out that it is part of what's called Founders Island. It's more human technology. It was looking for Susan. It knows who Finn is. Susan seems to recognize the machine. She sits in it, and she remembers some stuff. And they find coordinates to get to this island where the humans are from, presumably. So, Finn is like, I have to go. I have to figure this out. I can't not do it. Everyone else is kind of like, are you sure you want to go? Like, does it really matter? And he's like, yes, it matters a lot. So they take Princess Bubblegum's boat. PB and Marcy see them off. And they head out on their high sailing adventure. Meanwhile, Fern is there, and they're like, Fern, you be me while I'm gone. Or, not be me, but like, you do hero stuff and do it your way. And take care of while I'm gone. And he's like, okay.
Next episode.
So yeah, that's our call for our hero's journey. There's our call.
Yep.
Next, some nonsense happens.
Yeah, next is the next part of part 1.5 of Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey nonsense.
Yeah.
Whipple the Happy Dragon.
They journey. We learned that Jake is a good, what's the fancy word for somebody who knows how to navigate on the ocean? Navigator?
Navigator. There might be a fancier word, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to figure it out. Because they get out there and like, oh, we don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So they try to ask this Dagron for help. And
no, the Dagron is being chased by another boat that's like, we hate you! And then Finn's like, should we help? And everyone's like, I don't know. But then they took too long to decide, so the dragon comes over to their side. And it's like, guys, those guys are really mean. Can I hang out with you guys? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure.
And he's like, I know how to get you where you're going. Let's go. And then, like, yeah, you're cool, Whipple. And then we fast forward a bit to where Whipple is talking about his ideas for television series or maybe books or something, like his ideas for stories. And Finn is just sunburned on the deck. Whipple, you suck so much.
Like, he doesn't stop talking about his shitty ideas that are boring and annoying. And they don't know what to do about it.
They were gonna tough it out, but BMO, who stowed away, busts out and is like, you are terrible! And then he's like, I didn't realize you guys felt that way. Well. And then he, like, turns into a tornado and destroys the ship or something.
Yeah, I was like, oh wow, the ship didn't even last in a full episode? Okay. The ship gets riggedy wrecked. Then Jake turns into a Jake ship, which is what he wanted to do in the beginning anyway. What else happens? Do they run into the jellyfish, or is that the next one?
That's this one, where the jellyfish are on the underside, and he's, like, hallucinating real bad. And also there's that weird volcano with the elephant flies.
Right, yeah.
Which is just some nonsense.
Yeah, like, this episode's really just some nonsense. All it really does is foreshadow that Susan is remembering something. Because she gets a jellyfish and we see her remember a child. who's presumably very important to her because Jake remembered or hallucinated his parents. So that's really all we get from this.
Yeah. I mean, they needed 8 episodes, and frankly, it would have been weird if they needed to have something happen.
Yeah, they had to do something on the ocean. Eventually, Whipple apologizes and, blows them over the dangerous parts and gets them towards where they need to go. So, everything is okay, but he still sucks. Next
episode is Mysterious Island.
I love how all, on this island, all the animals wear shoes, like how all the humans wear animal hats. So all the animals wear human shoes. Really, Yoshi shoes, these fat shoes. And it's so cute, the parrot. I love it. So they get shipwrecked, and Finn wakes up alone on this shoe animal island, and encounters some of these shoe animals and this lady, who speaks a different language than him. Eventually,
it's Swedish.
Swedish. Okay.
I could tell it was Scandinavian.
I could tell it was a real language. I just didn't know which one.
Yeah, it sounded Scandinavian to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's specifically Swedish.
Yeah. It's a weird island that has weird weather patterns. It'll snow, and then it'll be hot, and then it'll snow, within minutes of each other. So, Finn gets captured by this adorable lady. She lets him go once she realizes he's not a threat. She invites him into her home. They have some fun, we don't understand each other, trying to find a way to communicate with what's happening. And she shows him these old videotapes of when all of her fellow people lived on the island, and they were all humans. Her name is Alva. And it was so at first, it's almost like a bait and switch. I heard Adam Muto describe it as that, where it's this is our first encounter with other humans, and it makes you think that this is all that's left, but in reality, we'll see way more humans as we go along. But this is more like the typical, one person estranged on an island with weird animals trying to make it work. Eventually, Finn finds Jake and Susan, and they move on to the next island.
Yeah, Susan's not in this one, but she's constantly referred to as the smelly person.
Yeah, Finn is, really mean to Susan in this one. About her body odor.
She lives in a sewer.
Yeah, also she was in a coma for a couple days, she couldn't shower.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was in that big fight where her body got all fucked up. Shut up, Finn.
Finn, come on. Be cool. Just dunk her in the ocean.
Next, we have Imaginary Resources, which is a BMO-heavy one.
Mm-hmm.
Also written and storyboarded by Pendleton Ward, along with another person, Graham Falk. In this one, we find ruins of a human city.
Mm-hmm.
Where everything is just abandoned and falls into disrepair. And they find these virtual reality headsets, which, luckily they started actually making those, so now they could actually look realistic. None of those are real now.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that those are real.
Yeah. There's and they put them on, and they accidentally make shit characters. They fucking Monster Factory themselves.
The character design in that Second Life is really whack anyway.
Yeah, real Second Life is there's a lot of stuff you can do in Second Life that you shouldn't be allowed to do. And they just go further with this, where it basically just auto created their characters. And immediately everyone's like, these guys are bots. These guys are viruses. These guys are trying to sell us genes. Also, Jake with the fucking egg.
Yeah, he kept the egg the whole time for some the parrot, the booty parrot, laid an egg and they kept it. Just cause he wanted to. Cause that's what Jake does.
So we learn that BMO is in this simulation, and BMO is king shit up in there. Everyone loves BMO. BMO's like the master of like...
I mean, why wouldn't they? He's BMO.
Yeah, is like selling high quality avatar designs to everybody and has his own club and it's just top shit. And BMO's like, I'm gonna
He's
stay
the mayor
here.
of Second Life.
Yeah, the boy mayor of Second Life.
He's the boy mayor of Second Life. So BMO doesn't want to leave. He's got this really weird naked buff body, and he's having a great time. But Finn's like, we gotta go.
It's like, this isn't real. It's like, what is this less real than what is out there? Is the sky really blue, or is it just an illusion from the shit? It's like, all right, Morpheus.
Yeah. So Jake takes off the headset and it's like, okay, I'm gonna figure out what's going on. He finds all the humans and their little pods. They're all emaciated. You know, the Matrix. They're in the Matrix, plugged in, willingly, having a fun time. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna just bust this shit up. That worked for me, you know, before, just busting things up. And he does.
You feel good.
And everyone is just shattered. They don't know what to do. They're miserable. They're all crawling at him like a zombie, like, turn it on, back on. I want my life back. And it's like, Vinny, is that you? I liked Vinny.
Yeah. They're just like some kind of chairman.
And I like how Finn was like, man, I understand. Like, he's like, given this is a pretty, like, sad part of my culture, but we should fix this.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sad part of humankind, but, you know, we shouldn't just leave these people like this.
Yeah.
So they fix the little robots that then fix the machine. Everything goes back, and everyone goes back to their second life, except for BMO, who decides he'd miss Finn and Jake too much.
And then they move on to the episodes with the plot.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff was build up. It was like,
yeah,
you know,
it's world building.
Everyone was a little showing us a little bit more of what's left of the humans. Yeah. Whipple the Happy Dragon just kind of showed us how fucked up the ocean is.
How the ocean is completely busted.
Right. Whereas Mysterious Island, we're like, okay, this is one island. There's obviously some human remains here. Imaginary resources, there's a lot of humans. Then we get to Hide and Seek, where we learn the whole story.
Half of the whole story.
Half the whole story.
Yeah, the episodes that aired on that Wednesday were the real meaty ones.
Yeah, they're the ones where after I watched them, I had to take a shower and go to bed. Because I was done with my day. I was so moved. I hadn't been that moved emotionally by Adventure Time in a while. So, we arrive on the next island. Susan's there. She's kind of wandering around it in like a memory dream. Jake and BMO and Finn are following her and they can't seem to talk to her.
Yeah, they think she's sleepwalking and then she goes to a bed and they're like, is she gonna start sleeping?
But what's happening is this is Susan's home. This is where she grew up. This is where she was raised, and she's remembering her life. So, way back when, on this island, human society was divided into specific roles, and the role that Susan was born to fulfill was a seeker, whose job was to make sure people didn't leave the island. Her real name was Kara, and she would go to school, taught by what's her name?
Dr. Gross.
Dr. Gross, who we saw earlier, back before she went cuckoo. And that's why Susan is super buff. The human technology, like every day in school, they learn a little bit more, and they're enhanced a little bit more to be better at rescuing people.
And they learn stuff via like a cord plugging into their implants. It's actually very Bravest Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like how I wish school worked.
Yeah. I mean, the Bravest Warriors is the best because you get all your education in vitro.
Right. So you're just born.
Not in vitro, in utero.
Like, I know all the things.
Yeah.
But they still go to school and they sing this song, and we learn that there are these people called the Founders who decided that the mutant world was too dangerous. Presumably those were the people who led the boat exhibition that Marcy facilitated by defeating the Vampire King. Because that was the last time we saw the humans, was them leaving Ooo, going into the ocean, because they just found the mutant world to be too dangerous.
There was actually, in one of these episodes, a hint at that, where there was that guy with the guitar whose name I can't remember, but he sang the theme song to Mr. Belvedere in Stakes.
Yes.
Like around the fire, like, we gotta remember the songs from our culture, and then he's like, Streaks on China! But he cameoed in one of these episodes as, like, a musician.
Yeah, so, the humans were like, these mutants are too dangerous. So they made this society where they're isolated on their island, they're safe from the mutants, but nobody can leave because they believe if they leave, they'll get hurt, and the founders don't want anybody going out there. So, Susan's really happy with her life. She has her best friend, Frida, who has a different role. She is an inventor. She's learning how to make stuff and make more devices and work with human technology to make everybody's lives easier. And they hang out during their lunch breaks and stuff, and they're super cute and they're best friends. However, Frida is not as satisfied, given the fact that she's, naturally more inquisitive. Her role is to think more and to want to think outside the box. She's curious as to what's out there, and is, like asking Susan, like, don't you wonder what's out there? And Susan's like, no, I like my life.
No, I buy the founders' propaganda.
So
also, I get to be so massive. Look at this.
Well, Frida also likes how buff Kara is, which is really cute. So they get a bit older. Kara starts working, saving people from themselves, delivering them to the hospitals. Frida keeps resisting. She gets more adamant that she doesn't want to stay there. She tries to escape. Susan helps her and gets her this piece of technology she needs to go on, like, essentially like a motorboat or a jet ski and get out of there. It's really conflictive for Kara, because she's like, I really like Frida, but I think what she's doing is wrong, but also I am curious, but also I don't know.
And also, this is literally my one job, is to prevent this.
Exactly. So she ends up helping her, but Dr. Gross catches them, takes control of Kara's brain, has her capture Frida, and that's the last thing
and smash up the ship.
And that's the last thing that Susan remembers, was she's walking around the island, and it's like, she wakes up and she's like, I know who I am now. I know how to talk again. I know what I'm doing. I know how I got here. And it was like, whoa, Susan. And she's still very conflicted about her relationship with Frida and what happened. She still feels very guilty about how it all went down, even though it wasn't her fault. So the next episode,
it's the other half of the flashback stuff, Min and Marty.
So Susan finds a ship to get to the next island. She's completely eloquent now. She's explaining, like, this is where I grew up, this is where I'm from. I knew your mom, Finn. Let's go to her. I know how to get there. And Finn's like, what? Like, he was, not prepared for it at all.
And then we get an extended flashback about his parents meeting.
Mm-hmm. Which also ties in a little bit to Susan's flashback and explains the last reason why Susan left, which was explained through this. So
Martin was always a shyster dipshit.
Mm-hmm.
Just
a con man.
Real scumbag.
He would play both sides of the...
Yeah, he was helping people, helping to smuggle people off the island and then ratting them out to the authorities. Perpetuating a cycle of violence and profiteering from it is the worst.
Just so he could get gadgets. He didn't even want money. He just wanted cool, nifty doodads.
But what happens is that somebody who he sets up on a boat is like, you're coming with us because we don't trust you. He's like, well, I guess I'm doing that. And that's when he gets caught by Susan.
Mm-hmm.
And his legs get busted. So she drops him off at the hospital. He's like, I'll pick him up tomorrow for re-ed. Walks off, comes back, re-education.
Because we saw that scene before, now we know what Rhea means.
By the way, this is the episode where that guy's name was Two Bread Tom, the leader of the human tribe from Styx.
Okay.
And there's a statue of him on Founders Island, and the plaque reads, "Thanks Two Bread Tom for being everyone's cool dad." What a good name for a character.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, Martin gets dropped off with Minerva, Dr. Minerva Campbell, who's a helper. Or, well, that's what they're called. They're called helpers instead of doctors. But they're essentially doctors. And he becomes her patient, and she starts fixing him up. But somehow ends up getting charmed by his little nonsense. The thing about this episode that I thought was so brilliant as I was watching it is you can see so much of Finn in both of his parents. Like, immediately. Like, you look at these two people, and you know they're his parents, just by how they behave. Like, what's important to them. Like, Finn has a lot of Marty in him. Especially this earlier version of Marty, who was just kind of a troublemaker.
Yeah. As opposed to later Martin, who's a complete son of a bitch. This Marty was just, like, kind of a son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was just kind of a whatever. Like, but he had a conscience. Like, we learn in the end, like, he never meant for things to go the way that they did. He just lost control of what was going on. But it was just so amazing, like, the way the writing was done. Watching these two characters talk and being like, oh, that's so Finn, or that's so Finn, that's so Finn. You know, like, it was kind of crazy. Especially because, you know, like, I've been watching the show forever. The show's been on forever. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of who Finn is. And I know he's not a real person, but it was like, oh, that's where he gets his playfulness and his sense of humor and, oh, my little baby boy. So, they flirt, and Marty has this stupid pair of underpants. Minerva's voiced by Sharon Horgan, who has a really nice voice.
Yeah.
I really like her voice. And she has his hat. Or Finn, rather, makes a hat like his mommy's hat.
Yeah, where it's not a full hood, and it's also got the nose, but it is still a white bear.
They're so cute. Because Minerva seems to be getting into Martin, she manages to help him get away from rehab, or re-ed, or whatever. And they end up moving in together and making a house and having a life. And, like, we see it, like, play out, and it's nice. Like we keep, because we know Marty, like, the whole time I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, but it wasn't ever because Marty did something. Like, he was actually cleaned up and there, you know, for his family. And Finn was such an ugly baby. He was the ugliest baby. But
so, like, the way that things broke bad is that the people who he tried to smuggle off and who got caught come after him.
Apparently that woman with the tiger's name is the Widow, voiced by Lorraine Newman. Yeah, so the Widow and her guys come after Martin.
And so he has to just bail. And he goes to, like, hide out from them just, like, in the ocean. Not, like, he's not trying to leave, he's just trying to, like, hang out in the ocean. It's like, just go away, I'm not coming out. But the island's guardian, the Colossus.
And he has baby Finn with him, by the way, because he was left home alone with the baby while Minerva went to work. And he's like, okay, I'll take care of the baby, whatever, like we always do. And he had to, like, burst out the window and get out of there with the baby.
So they're on a raft in the middle of the ocean, and the colossal guardian of the island, who we've already seen in real time, shows up and attacks them. And
because it thinks that they're trying to leave.
Yeah, and ends up blasting them out to sea. Which, the wiki reminded me of this, like, Martin's ship in The Visitor was called the Mini. Mm-hmm. In reference to, you know, Minerva. And then his explanation for Finn's abandonment in this episode is only somewhat accurate. but there is some truth to it. He says that Finn was born on a boat, was attacked by seaweed, and attacked by a real bear and tiger. In reality, Finn was born on the human island. There was no seaweed. The widow's tiger did not try to directly attack them, and the bear was actually just Finn's stuffed animal.
Right. That just happened to have his name on it, thankfully. But the tiger didn't attack him, but symbolically they did. Attack him, and it is just kind of sad because you see where Marty came from, and it's like the whole time he had every intention of going back. He wanted to go back to his life. He cared about Finn. He cared about Minnie. He was trying to protect them, or in his own dumb way, and then he just got launched, and then Finn drifted on the raft, which is where he got his fear of the ocean, because he was a baby on a raft with a teddy bear in the ocean by himself. So all this stuff happens.
And this also implies that Martin's contemporary behavior may be born out of deep-seated psychological trauma from what happened here. It may be like an Ice King kind of thing where he's a son of a bitch because he got broken.
Right.
Because
he gave into his worst instincts while on his own with nothing anymore.
Yeah, when he was forced to survive, he went back to his most base standards and behavior. And had to do that so long just to survive that then there's no coming back from it, I think.
Yeah.
So while it certainly doesn't justify or excuse any of his behavior that we've seen from him in the present day, it offers an explanation.
It does. And it's kind of a relief, in a way, that it's like, he did love Finn, and he did love Finn's mom. He just got really lost. So Minerva comes back in all the commotion because the widow and her gang is getting arrested, and everybody's like, somebody left the island. Because Martin was the first person to actually leave the island. The first and only person other than Susan and Finn. They're the only humans who left. Susan leaves because she's sent out to go find Finn. And then she gets, presumably runs into some of the craziness in the ocean and then washes up in the sewers with the other humans and has a big old bump on her head and forgets who she is. Minerva comes back to all this, and it's just really heartbreaking. She's just sitting there by the shore, and she's just why? How? She has no idea. One day she thinks she knows what her life is, and then all of a sudden everything falls apart. She has no idea how it happened.
There's a piece of promotional art for this episode, which features Martin picked up by a pirate ship, and he's bleeding profusely from the head. So there's also probably physical trauma that happened to his brain.
Yeah,
that made him how he is. So it wasn't just psychological, but his head got knocked around, and that's why he's a piece of shit now.
I mean, everyone's head got knocked around. Susan's head got knocked around. Finn's baby head got knocked around. So, Minerva, it's just this heartbreaking scene because as far as she can tell, he left her, but she has no idea what, and she'll never know. And, that's, to me, the reason why I had to go to bed was because, we jump back from this flashback just to see Finn, kind of dazed. And Jake is like, you haven't said anything in a long time. But, unlike Susan remembering her thing in the previous episode, there's no indication that anybody knows any of this information. This is the story that's being given to us as the audience. This is just for our benefit. These pieces haven't come together for any of the other characters.
Yeah, nobody knows the whole story. The only person who could know the whole story, Martin, he's not all there anymore.
Exactly. And even once the next episode happens, Finn and Minerva still don't know the whole story. They never will. I was just kind of, really overwhelmed by that idea that,
Yeah, that's profoundly tragic.
Yeah. So, I was like, whoa. So that was really heavy. So, Finn's really nervous, obviously. In the next episode, we learn Susan shows Finn what his mom looks like in a hologram and what her name was. And Finn's kind of excited. He's like, oh, she looks nice. Because he doesn't know what to think, you know? His last time he met one of his parents, he turned out to be, you know, the shit king and offer absolutely no explanation whatsoever. So now he's like, okay. Because he's probably wondering, all right, if my mom is alive, why was I abandoned? What happened? I don't understand. So they go to Founders Island, and unlike all the other islands, this one is perfectly functional. All the humans are living pretty regular human lives. They're not in the Matrix. They weren't destroyed by the weather or animals and booties. They're living they're just there. The humans have been there the whole time. The whole time. Which is crazy. You know.
Yeah, they've just been living in isolation for what is presumed to be 300 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Mushroom War was 1,000 years ago, but it's unclear when the humans made their exodus, and
within Marceline's lifetime.
Yeah. But she's 1,000 years old. But it's just hard to tell, you know, the exact timeline, but there's a line of Minerva's in this episode that implies 300 years.
Yeah. So they wander on. You know, Susan's got her mojo back. She knows what's up. She knows how everything is. It's very interesting to see a Susan this way. And she's like, okay, let's see if we can try to find your mom. And they go into a square, and she's like, all right, everybody, don't be weird. Of course, Jake immediately goes out and is like, hey, I'm a talking dog.
And he draws a crowd. He's doing bits.
Well, like, this little kid comes up like, can I pet your dog's tummy? It's all yellow and soft. And it's like this adorable kid. And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. You can pet my tummy. Finn sees who he thinks to be Minerva. Or he talks to somebody and they're like, Minerva's everywhere. What are you talking about? You weirdo? And he's like, that's weird. And then he approaches
What's up, buddy? You just blowing from Stupid Town?
He approaches Minerva. She doesn't seem responsive. She just seems to be made to respond to helping people specifically. And Finn's like, I'm your son. I know this must be really weird. Why aren't you talking to me? Meanwhile, Susan's like, gives up on Jake and sees Frida out of the corner of her eye and is like, oh shit, and goes to follow Frida. I don't remember... Oh yeah. Jake starts shape-shifting, and then everybody realizes that he's immune and starts freaking out. Because Jake was like, oh no, they don't like me anymore. They're bored of me. I have to continue to get this attention because I'm Jake and that's who I am. All the little Minervas come over. There's like a bunch of them, and like knocks them out, and they wake up in a prison because they're determined to be like these weird mutants that are a danger.
And then they take a biosample from Finn that tests positive, and the entire Minerva system...
It identifies him immediately.
As Finn, yeah. And so the entire system, like, misses the beat. They all go... including one who I think was, like, administering, like, gauze to a wound.
And the guy's like, Minerva, are you okay? These Minerva robot ladies take them out of the prison and into this room where Minerva's on a screen. And this seems to be the real Minerva, her real consciousness. And she's like, this is the reunion. And it's like really tense. And I'm like, I want everything to go well. So she is ecstatic, obviously, that her son is alive this whole time. She doesn't ask a lot of questions. She immediately is just very happy that he's there and immediately wants to protect him and incorporate him into this society that she is honestly in charge of, in a way.
Yeah, she almost rebuilt it. Because here's what happened, is that a virus broke out that absolutely destroyed the population. I think they said like 1 in 2 people Like what was the death rate of people who contracted it? And then like among the helpers, the medical staff, the death rate was 100%. Yeah. So she caught it. She was going to die. She digitized her personality into, some network, which then made all these robotronics or something, which allowed her to continue her work as a single consciousness in a society where there was, if she hadn't done that, the society would have collapsed.
Right, because she's the sole reason why, she's the sole health care provider for everybody who lives on this island. And she takes care of everybody and makes sure everyone's healthy and happy and safe. Dr. Gross went crazy, cuckoo, and they had a falling out. And so now she's just kind of keeping everything together. We don't know how the government is, but she's reminds me a lot of Bubblegum in this sense, where she's like very controlling, but with the best of intentions, because she's seen how bad things can be.
Yeah, I feel like their culture has probably been stagnant the whole time. Like just because of the way that everything operates, that they can't really develop as a culture, so they're just kind of staying in the same motions for, it's probably been hundreds of years. But there's nothing else they know how to do. It's kind of a revisitation of the themes that we saw with the virtual reality people. It's like, this is all they know. This safety net that protects them from the outside world, whether it be this virtual reality or this omnipresent maternal figure, or just the fact that they're isolated on this island where they literally want for nothing. They're completely isolated from what it really means to be alive, and how that is, the freedom of deciding your own life, and also the danger that comes with that. And that's what Finn, in the next episode, more so, I believe.
No, this is the last episode. It's a very very dense episode.
Well, no, there's helpers in the light cloud.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the light cloud.
Yeah, and I watch them at the same time, so to me, in my brain, they're the same episode.
They're the same.
Like Finn tries to
explain where he's been
and what he's been doing, because Minerva's like, okay, now you're going to stay here forever, and he's like, I got a life, actually. I have like a doctor's appointment in 2 weeks.
He promised Bubblegum that he would come back. And even like with Martin again, when he met the space baby or whatever the hell happened at the end of season 6, and he was going to become the new god, he was like, nah, I put a lot of time into this world. I want to stay there. So like Finn's already like established that like Ooh is where he belongs, and that's his home, and he doesn't want to go anywhere else, really. At least not permanently. So this is like a very different kind of like dilemma, where it's like, I don't want to stay. I mean, you're my mom, but I don't want to. I have this other world that I'm responsible for. And he does kind of. She has like this panel where he like puts his hand and like forces in memories, and he chooses a lot of really crazy memories of just like Adventure Time nonsense. And his mom was like, "That's terrible. You can't go back.
You double definitely can't go back now." And he's like, "Oh, here's all the other stuff," and then it's like, okay.
Well, before
that's later.
Not only does she not want him to leave the island, she wants him in cryostasis alongside with her, with his consciousness uploaded too, because she doesn't want to lose him at all. Like, she won't even let him live as a bodily person like the other humans on the island. And Finn's like obviously not into that. Meanwhile, Susan's trying to muster up the courage to talk to Frida. Frida's become a toy maker. She eventually does. Frida seems happy to see her. She tries to apologize, and Frida just seems kind of like, whatever. I don't care about that anymore. And then that makes Frida sad. That makes Susan sad, because Susan has seen the world out there that Frida's always wanted, and knows that she still wants it. So Finn is like, Mom, you don't understand, like, people, there's a world out there and people deserve to be there. And the mom's like, no, Finn, it's very dangerous and we should all just survive, and you don't know what you're talking about, and blah, 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 blah. So Finn leaves and tries to talk people in the square about how great the outside world is. And he tries to
incite a cultural revolution.
Yeah. And at that moment, Susan brings Frida and is like, Frida, listen, And Frida does, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what I've been saying my whole life. Could I have possibly forgotten? It's because she was re-educated, probably. And all the people seem to be like, yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, whatever. Because humanity will listen to anybody who's yelling. But then Minerva's like, nah, nope. So she sends out a shield, and she's like, I'm going to trap everybody inside the shield, and we're going to upload everybody's consciousness into the machine, and we're all going to be safe forever. And so, so she's like, no, this gotta stop. Can't have it. Everyone's get into the safety box. And Finn's like, Mom, no, this is crazy. So he goes back down and is trying to explain. They have a conflict of, like, they have a philosophical sort of argument and as much as they can, one of those people being Finn, about, like, what is our role in helping people? Because they both help people, and Finn's like, I understand what it's like to help people. And the mom's like, how could you? You come from this crazy, wild land. And he shows her the beautiful things that he's encountered in his life, and the way that he's made friends, and the way that he's learned compassion, and the way that he's made people's lives better, and how he's always been like that. He's always tried to make things better for people. And he's failed, and he's succeeded, and it's, everything that's ever happened in the history of the show. And then she's like, oh, if this world taught you these simple values of compassion and helping, then maybe it's not as lost as I was led to believe that it was. So she shuts down her crazy apocalyptic contingency plan. It's like, okay, Finn, I'll listen to you. I'll let you leave. But he's like, I'm not gonna leave, like, immediately. Like, I just got here. You're my mom. Like, I came here because I wanted to meet you. So presumably some time passes. They probably catch up a little bit. And then they prepare a boat for Finn and whatever humans who want to leave to go. Of course, the humans are too used to being all coddled.
The humans are like, wait, right now? I have... But the football game's on tonight.
Later.
We'll do it later. They're never going to do it, but they have the option. So that's the difference now, is that they've got the freedom to make the choice, but their choice is just like, no, path of least resistance. I'm just going to keep doing this easy thing.
But Frida...
Which is a whole other... Which I think is very interesting, the idea that, like, people want freedom conceptually, but they honestly want the most easy life available. The average person does.
And it's not like they're living under tyranny or anything. They're very comfortable.
Yeah. If it was tyrannical, they probably would have left because they weren't living in some kind of comfort.
But they're literally living in a utopia. Like, they have no reason to really much reason to want to leave other than to satisfy that curiosity and that drive for adventure.
Which they have, but honestly, they just got it, and they're like, I don't care that much.
Yeah, maybe in a bit. But Frida's been there, she's ready, so they leave, they trick the Guardian, they finally shut down the Guardian completely, so it's no longer lording over them, preventing them from leaving. Now they have open waters. Finn puts on the virtual reality helmet and gets to see where his childhood home would have been, and says goodbye to his mom. They have a talk about whether or not she really is who she is because she's in a computer and all this stuff, but they leave on very good terms. It's sort of open-ended whether or not they'll come back. They probably will, maybe not, who knows. And Finn feels complete. Because, like, the other thing that happens in Whipple the Happy Dragon that was important is that everybody's like, Finn, should we really be doing this? This is dumb and hard. And Finn is like, I need to do this. And he breaks down, he starts crying, and he's like, if I don't do this, I'm never gonna know. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, there's always gonna be this hole in my heart. There's always gonna be this part of me that's on Boom Boom Mountain, alone and confused, and not knowing who I am.
With a leaf stuck to my ass.
And he comes away from this adventure feeling complete. Like, now he knows as much of the story as he's ever gonna know. He can feel satisfied in where he came from and who he is as a person, and he can go back to his life. And it was, like, really, like, touching. It was like, huh. Like, you know, we've been watching this show for years now. And we finally have the answers. The most pressing answers to our most pressing questions. And it just feels so, like such a relief.
Yeah, I really like the way that this show deals with the idea of status quo. Stakes did the same thing, and frankly, the thing with Jake's kids has been a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, we do return to the status quo, but we've learned something about it, and like, beneath the surface, you know that the characters have changed, although, like, we could still have another episode where they just go to the fucking hamster kingdom and party with some hamsters or whatever the fuck.
It's a great episode idea, Nikki. I love hamsters.
Like, he now has this complete picture of where he came from, and, like, it influences his identity, but it doesn't honestly change who he is, and I think that's powerful. Realizing that, like, you know, he made all these revelations, but it didn't change anything. He's like, I still am fundamentally the same person who I was before. And it's, I think, interestingly, a thematic succession to everything stays. You know, the idea that, yeah, you know, I've learned more, I've grown, but what that growth has done is reinforced that what I've been doing is what I need to keep doing. And
it's an internal growth, you know, like, Finn has grown.
A lesser show would have returned to the status quo with, like, as if nothing had happened. This show was really smart about it, because it knows that, like, the thing about why fiction returns to the status quo is because when you upset status quo, you then completely change what the show is. If Jake did have to be a father of five all the time, it would have completely changed what the show was. So instead, what they do is they make their they made their cop out into something that was actually really interesting. Where Jake is this guy who's generally very carefree, and he's kind of not capable of super deep self-reflection. It's just fundamentally not his nature. But with the kids, he's like, you know, I was a dad for a week, and I feel like I didn't do fucking anything. And now they're adults who effectively had no father figure in their life. And still don't, because I'm just like their bud. But I don't know how to be anything else.
Right. And, like, it's really amazing, like I got kind of, like, emotional, like, at the end with the cartoon with the little thing where Finn's like, oh, this party is great, because his voice was so different, and I was like, we've grown so much. You know, he's grown so much as a character over however fucking long the show's been on TV, and like, I do really like what the show has to say about personal growth. You know, maybe things aren't changing on the outside, maybe the way you're living your life is still basically the same, but, like, since I've been unemployed and haven't had a lot of action, a lot of what I've been having is time to think about stuff and to revisit stuff and to examine my behavior and who I've been up until this point and who I've always been. And I feel like I've come to a point where I'm very comfortable with who I am and how I approach things. Like, I feel like my anxiety isn't as much as it doesn't have as much control over me as it used to. Like, I feel like I've just matured a lot, and I know who I am a lot better, and I'm capable of handling problems better. And it's not something that, like, seems very extreme. It's work. It's internal work that I did for myself. It's like the betterment of my own life within, you know, and, like, that's not something that society really emphasizes, because we emphasize external work, like results that we can see, you know, what have you accomplished? What have you done? What, you know, but the work that we do within ourselves that other people might not necessarily be able to see is incredibly important, and it's not prioritized and seen that way. And that's one of the really beautiful things about Islands and Stakes. It's about that work. more than anything, most of the action is happening on the inside, and that's what counts, and it's important. You know, it's not just returning back to the status quo. It's you're fundamentally growing as a person. You're becoming a better human being, slowly but surely, by taking the time to figure out who you are and what you've been through and where you're going. And it's, you know, it seems simple and like not that important and like worthy of like this big grand adventure, but it's ultimately like what life is about. Like at the end, like all you have is like, how far have I come as myself? Where did I start and where did I go? Within me, in the world of my brain, you know, the world of my feelings and what matters to me and the relationships that I've had. And that's really, it's really nice to see the show do that and make it the center, make it the focus of the narrative. Not once, but twice, in two very different ways. And I hope to see them continue. And I'm so excited to see more of this world and, like, to have more fun, stupid adventures. And more serious ones, too. But you know, this was such a delightful show. Like, I mean, nobody knew where it was going. Ever. Not even when it started, and we still don't really know where it's going to end, but it's been such a delightful and meaningful journey.
Yeah, and what I like about it is, you know, about this and about Stakes is, like, their journeys aren't over. They've still got a lot more to do and a lot more growth to do. It's like they had this big, you know, illuminating adventure, but that doesn't conclude anything.
Exactly, because they still have their whole lives to live. You know, there's still unanswered questions. There's still, you know, bad guys that need to be defeated and problems that need to be solved. You know, the world is still kind of crazy, and they need to figure out what's going on. And, you know, Patience is a threat, and Marcy still has to work out stuff with her dad, and Finn still needs to figure out what he wants to do moving forward as he gets older, because he's not going to be like Jake when he grows up. That's pretty clear. So it's just a matter of, like, what's going to happen next, you know? But it's not, like, it's not intense, you know? There's no fear. It's like, it's going to happen, and the characters are prepared for it. Like, everything's been put in place, everything's been set up, and it's going to be what it needs to be.
And, you know, we've seen, particularly in season 6, that, like, we've seen the future of Ooh. It's bad. There isn't one. You know,
right.
We look far into the future and Ooh does not exist. Like,
right.
It's abandoned. And I'm starting to think that, like, the ending of Adventure Time, I bet is going to leave things pretty open-ended the way that kind of everything else has been. Is like, we're going to leave these characters trying their best. And, like, we as an audience know that their world is doomed, and maybe the things that they're working towards are futile. Like, we don't, like we know that the Candy Kingdom is abandoned. We don't know if they went somewhere else or if that civilization is no more. We don't know. And I think it would be, frankly, antithetical to the point of the show to answer that definitively. But right. I feel like that's what this show is moving towards, and kind of like what the grunginess and the dire emotional heart of season 6 was kind of setting the groundwork for. And that's frankly what the season 6 finale was about. It's like, in the face of utter objective despair, like in the face of oblivion, it's about finding hope in what you can influence and what you can control, and to continue to do your best to make the world a better place for as long as you have the ability to do that.
Because it's worth it. As long as there are people alive and there are adventures to go on, it's worth it. And all the adventures that they've been on have been worth it and are so meaningful. they justify everything.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that is the thesis that this show has fallen backwards into, because nobody who's worked on this show will tell you that it's season 1 they knew where all this shit was going.
No. But the show's always been about going out there and having fun. The world is weird and silly and crazy and dangerous, but you need to go out there and experience it and live it. And it's those things that make it worthwhile. Even before we had all this context, and even just in season 1, it's like, I don't understand anything, but let's go on an adventure and make our life have meaning by doing so. You know? And that's why it was so appealing for kids, because it's like, yeah, let's go and do a thing. And that's what makes our lives, is that we did things together that maybe aren't tangible things, but we had experiences that were fun or scary, or we learned something, or we didn't learn anything, but we went out there and we had this time.
Yeah, I think the show is profound in a very understated way. Like, it's been pretty, overtly profound, but I think stuff like this is like, yeah, we had all the revelations and we got all these answers, but the idea that doesn't really change anything, I think that's very powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And, man, we actually have been gone for 2 hours.
Well, poop.
I mean, I think we reached a pretty good thematic thesis there at the end, which I didn't have in my head going in.
Yeah.
Which is what I love so much about recording this show, is that I come out of each episode smarter than I was going in, and I understand each work that we talk about more after I talk about it with you.
Yeah. And, I just, the show, it really is something special, and the way that it changes as it goes along, it does kind of mimic life in that way, where it's just like, you're just going. You don't know where, but you're going. And the fact that you're going is what's important.
Yeah, and Adventure Time lore is order that has been made out of chaos.
Exactly.
Not to say that there wasn't lore, not to say there wasn't a plot Bible in the beginning, there was. But not this much. They stumbled backwards into almost all of this stuff. I guarantee that they had no idea who the fuck Finn's parents were when they were making season 1.
No. And that wasn't important at the time.
No. And then here's the thing, is that in many ways, it still isn't important. It's not going to define what we do in the future. Knowing where we come from is something that we can learn from, but it doesn't define us.
Exactly. More than anything, it gives us peace of mind and a reference, but it doesn't give us a direction. So, we're not sure when Adventure Time's gonna come back exactly. We have some episodes coming down the pipeline. We have another Fiona and Cake episode that's called Fiona and Cake and Fiona. Some episodes that have some abstract names that we can't really gather anything from. And then one episode called Marcy and Hunson.
Huh.
Which is going to be part of season 9, apparently. Which is, if I had to think of stuff, when I was pacing around after this was over, I'm like, what else do we still not know? And I was like, okay, there's Patience, whatever the fuck's gonna happen with that, there's Betty. And I was like, I guess we still don't understand why the hell Hunson abandoned Marcy. I guess that's something. So I guess we might learn something to that effect in this upcoming episode. However, that's in season 9, so that's probably gonna be a while. I'm just like, what characters can we see again? What else can we do? Where else can we go?
I mean, we'll find out. We'll just...
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's part of the fun. It's I'm at a point in my life where I'm typically not interested in speculating on where a story's going to go. I just want to see the people who write it do it.
Kind of. I have some ideas. I'm like, that would be kind of interesting, or that would be cool, or, oh, there's that thing when I remember it. But especially for something like Adventure Time, which is so sprawling, and I forget a lot of it, it never fails to surprise me. This show always does something that is both very but also very okay, Adventure Time. Whatever you say, Adventure Time. So I'm just, let's probably more of that.
Well, I think that's our show.
Yep.
As always, thanks for listening. If you have any things you want to say to us, you can contact us on Twitter, Tumblr, just search the Toon Goons, or our email, which is thetoongoons@gmail.com. If you feel so inclined, it would be wonderful if you could leave a rating or a review on iTunes. That helps us gain visibility.
Yes.
And as for our next episode, we don't know what it's going to be yet, but some stuff that we have talked about doing in the near future are Mob Psycho 100 and Batman Piderman.
Mm-hmm. Voltron Season 2, probably.
Yeah.
Eventually.
It may be a little longer between this and the next episode, because just at this point in the show, like we said, we're not forcing new episodes. Like, we'll do a new episode when we feel like there's something we really want to talk about. So when that muse strikes us, I mean, it's not going to be too long. I'm going to make sure we do an episode like at least once a month.
Yeah, like we're not gonna.
But
we're not gonna try not to fall off the face of the internet again.
Yeah, I've been Nikki,
And I've been Nina,
and thank you for tuning in.